Welcome to Forensic Friday, where I tell you one true crime case that was solved using forensic science, all while doing, and that's right, my makeup. Quick reminder, the comment section is a privilege. Don't fuck it up. Now let's get into today's case. Oh my God, it's so hot. I'm sweating bullets. Like for real. Oh my God. The mic was turned off this entire time. Okay. Let me set the scene for you guys. This story all takes place in one of the world's most sought after vacation destinations, the Bahamas. The Bahamas are a group of tropical islands about 160 miles off the coast of Florida. It is a particularly popular spot amongst golfers because the weather is so great, so they're able to golf all year round. However, in the fall of 1999, a tropical storm hit, tore through the island, and the next day a lot of property was damaged. There's a lot of electric outages. Some people were even harmed in the storm. I'm not sure if anybody lost their lives, hopefully not, but mainly a lot of property was destroyed. So needless to say, this was a pretty huge storm that year, and it just like tore through everything. The next morning, the groundskeepers of the Emerald Golf Course was doing his rounds, making sure that any trash that had gotten thrown on the property was cleaned up. If there was anything like damage, that they would get somebody out to like fix it immediately. Wow, that's a lot. Girl, my face is looking real natty. So the groundskeeper was doing his rounds, and that is when he made the most horrific discovery that he ever had in his entire life. I'm sure of it. I'm absolutely sure of it. The body of a young black female was laying on the golf course, lifeless. Yeah, I won't be taking any trips to the golf course anytime soon, let's just say that. She was nude. He immediately contacted the authorities. When crime scene investigators arrived on the scene, they noticed that the woman's throat had been slit and that there was a $1 bill laying on top of her body, which they felt was a clear message of disgrace towards her. Apparently that this area was a pretty wealthy area in Freeport. Crime scene investigators concluded that she most likely had been killed either the night before or earlier that morning. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys remember this storm or if you're aware of this tropical storm. It's called Irene. As crime scene investigators continue to search the area, they found a woman's ring, the victim's clothing, and a used condom. Due to the severe winds caused by the tropical storm and all of the rain, any fingerprints, fibers, hairs, bodily fluid that could have been from a possible assailant was all washed away. Ooh, child, what are you doing? Hello, stop that. Based on the nature of the crime scene, investigators thought that the victim had possibly been raped or sexually assaulted because there was that used condom and she was naked, and the dollar bill kind of just like, they weren't sure what that was all about, but it seemed like some form of like humiliation or degrading of the victim. A rape kit had not been done on the body yet, so this was all speculations at that point. Like all of the signs pointed to her being raped, or at least an attempted rape that may have ended in the assailant getting interrupted. I forgot to put on my primer. I clearly haven't done this in a long time. Okay. Police searched the entire golf course looking for the murder weapon. They used metal detectors. However, they were unable to locate the murder weapon. The victim was identified as 19-year-old Samantha Forbes. Samantha was a high school graduate who lived just 6 miles away from the golf course. Crazy. A high school student? The insanity of that. Samantha's family would describe her as a loving, kind person who was very easygoing, and she never gave them a hard time when she was growing up as a teenager. She was just a pretty normal teen, which makes it even more heartbreaking, I think. Not that I'm saying that it would make a difference if he was a bad teen. You would still feel the same way about your kid, but when they're actually good and they don't get into any trouble and they have a clean record, and then all of a sudden something as horrific as this happens to them, it's kind of like, I don't know, it just leaves you at a loss for words as to like why this actually happens. You know what I mean? You do know what I mean. Investigators began digging into Samantha's background. They want to find out who were her friends, who was she with the night before, what had happened, how did she get to this state, like how did we get here? So they speak to Samantha's mom, and Samantha's mom tells investigators that the night before, Samantha had gone out with a friend, Marjorie Saunders. I need to know what Marjorie got to say about this because I'm looking at her sideways already. Like, what did you get our girl into? You never know. Jealousy is definitely not dead amongst female friends. Let's just say that. Sadly. I'm not accusing Marjorie of anything yet, of course. We don't know Marjorie. We're about to get to know her. According to Marjorie, she invited Samantha out to a nightclub where I think she worked, if I'm not mistaken or not. I believe she works there. And so she invited Samantha out to this nightclub, and Samantha meets this guy there, and he offers her a drink. Samantha accepts the drink, and she starts talking with the guy. Throughout the night, Samantha ends up meeting these two guys, and she starts a conversation with them. They all seem to be talking and getting along. According to Marjorie, Samantha was a real party animal, and at the end of the night, she had decided to leave the club and go with these two men to, I don't know where they were going, I guess another club or another party, but she had planned to leave with them. Now, that's crazy to me, because if I invite a friend somewhere, if I go somewhere with a friend, if you're my friend, let me start over, I'm getting hype. If you're my friend and I take you out, I invite you out, and we're both female and we're both single, I'm not leaving you there alone. That's number one. If you came with me, you're leaving with me. So just know that. Just know that. Girl code for me means like we don't leave each other alone with strangers, with men that we just met that night. We don't let each other go. If we came together, we leave together. Okay? You would have to fight me tooth and nail to like go, and then okay, fine, you know, whatever, you're on your own. But I'm definitely not doing it if you had drinks and stuff. So she's at this nightclub, I'm assuming she had to be like 21 to drink. I don't know. I know some nightclubs allow for especially attractive young females to get in, even if they're under drinking age. They just can't drink, but they do allow them to get in because it attracts men to the club who will spend money on drinks. I'm guessing she was at least 18 years old, which means she was an adult and was perfectly capable of making her own decisions. Marjorie does say later on that she did try to stop Samantha from going with the two guys, that she said, hey, let me take you home. But Samantha wasn't ready to go home. She wanted to continue to party, and she wasn't ready. She wanted to go to another disco. Samantha's friend did say that she felt really, really bad for what happened to her because she felt somehow responsible. She just felt like there was more that she could have done to prevent Samantha from going with the two guys, which is really sad because she's not responsible. She also told investigators that she believed that the two men that Samantha had left with were sailors, which was a whole other problem in and of itself because that island has a lot of seaports, and unfortunately sailors come and go. It wouldn't be very easy for them to track the two men down. They have to know what ship they came on and all types of stuff that I don't even know how they would locate these guys, but it would definitely be pretty difficult for them to get in contact to find out who these two guys may have possibly been. What about them gave off sailor vibes to her? Like, that's what I'm kind of wondering. If I was police, I would be asking her that. Like, why do you think that they were sailors? What gave you that idea about them? You know, maybe that could be a clue as to like who they were and how to find them. After Samantha's murder had been reported on the local news, one of the bartenders at that club came forward with some interesting information. She said that Samantha came into the bar with two men. She described the two men the same way that Samantha's friend had described the two men. And during their time at the bar, she got into an argument with one of the men. I'm so excited to try this new foundation. I actually got it this year for my birthday. It was my birthday splurge. I've never in my life owned a makeup item this expensive. I just want to say that. Like, girl, I think it was like $65. Like, for face paint though? Are we really doing that today? This is in the shade Golden because I know you guys gonna ask. It's W074 Golden. Oh my God, the luxury. So apparently one of Samantha's other friends, a guy named Keith Lattimore, that she had known for a while, he just so happened to be at that bar, and he actually intervened between the two of them. He just told Samantha, you know, hey, break it up. And he told Samantha, hey, just ignore these guys, ignore that guy, go on about your way or your business, don't worry about him. He was really trying to like help her out, I guess. She did listen to her friend and just stop the altercation. She just stopped talking to them and started ignoring the guy, which is probably the best thing she could have done in that situation. I mean, you're not going to fight a man. You're not going to beat this guy up. So might as well just like, no one really knows what the altercation was about. That is a very light. I got a tan. I got like a really dark tan. This is probably like the darkest I've been in a long time. So excuse me if the makeup ain't makeuping, if it's not matching. That is a beautiful coverage though. I'm not going to even lie. Like the color isn't exactly right now because I got a tan, but that is beautiful. After this, the two men who appear to be sailors left the bar and left Samantha with her friend Keith, who was hanging out with his friend Dominique. I believe his name was Dominique Moss. Dominique and Keith stayed behind with Samantha at the bar. After spending some time at the bar, once she was ready to go home, she did ask Dominique and Keith for a ride. And she was seen leaving with the two men just when you think you're safe with your guy friends. I'm telling y'all, be careful with these guy friends. Oh my goodness, we gotta do something about this. Don't worry, I'm gonna warm it up. I know it's looking crazy right now. Both men were brought in for questioning and was interviewed separately. Hopefully they didn't have a story set yet. Crime scene investigators had their work cut out for them. Because of the storm, it was proving to be very difficult for them to get any substantial evidence that they could possibly use against these guys or whoever the assailant was. The grounds were so wet and watery from the storm. Like any possible evidence that could have been left behind on that day from the assailant was most likely washed away. It was just almost dang near impossible. Keith was employed as a barber whilst Dominique worked as an electrician. I keep calling him Dominique, and I think that's the girl version of Dominic. It's Dominic. Both men were brought in for question and interviewed separately, and their stories were very, very consistent to one another. They actually said the same thing. They both told police that they dropped Samantha off home as she requested before returning back to the bar to pick up some food that they had ordered earlier but then had forgotten and left behind. And according to witnesses and the bartender that was working that night, they said that the two men did come back to pick up the food and that one of them were barefoot, which was odd. Crime scene investigators searched Keith's vehicle, but they found no blood or foreign fibers. They also took a look at his clothing from that night, and they also found nothing. When police requested that Dominique surrender the clothes that he was wearing from that night, he told them that he was unable to provide them and that he didn't even remember what he was wearing from that night or if he even had those same clothing, which is weird. Of course he had it. He told officers that he actually didn't even know where the clothing was, and so he couldn't provide it to them. Now, although the two men claimed they had dropped Samantha off at home and that was the last time that they saw her, however, when investigators questioned Samantha's family, her mother told them that Samantha hadn't returned home at all that night, that the last thing that she knew was that Samantha had left with her friend. After speaking with the friend and getting a clear, detailed description of what the two men looked like, the two supposed sailors, police were able to track the two guys down, and they were indeed sailors, as suspected. They admitted to arguing with Samantha, but said they had left after Keith had intervened. Looks like Mr. Keith and his friend Dominic was the last two known people to see Samantha alive. They said after that they returned to their vessel and spent their night there. Police were able to corroborate their story. They did have alibis, and these guys were eliminated as suspects. The two men agreed to hanging out to Samantha at the art bar, but then left after they had gotten into an argument. Just as this case seemed to be at a standstill, investigators turned to forensic scientists for help. The autopsy did confirm that Samantha had in fact been raped, but they also noted something very peculiar. Several grass fragments that was found on her body. The grass fragments were found to be unusually thin. They also had parallel striations along the length of the grass. This grass was also found on Keith's shoes. So it was found on both Keith's shoes and Samantha's body. Now all they had to do was prove that they were there at the same time. Investigators needed to find out if the grass fragments came from the same location. So they hired a forensic botanist. Is that how you say it? Botanist? Botanist? Maybe it's botanist. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on bot. We all know, girl, my vocabulary. It reads botanist, but the way that it was pronounced in the video was botanist. So I don't know. You guys let me know down in the comment section below. Is it pronounced botanist or botanist? I think it's botanist. This forensic botanist was one of the best in the country, so they were working with top-notch quality botanist. So they had the forensic botanist examine the samples, and she identified the samples as almond Bermuda grass, which is primarily used on golf courses. Out of the 3 major golf courses on the Bahama Island, only one of those golf courses used almond Bermuda grass. Guess which one? Well, you've guessed it, the Emerald Golf Course. Finally, they had solid scientific evidence linking Keith and Samantha to the golf course. Because they weren't using an expert from their country, but rather an expert from the United States, it took quite some time before they were able to even get an arrest. One of the problems that they encountered was that there were so many different types of grass. There's almost 9,000 different species of grass, and it was said to be almost a dozen in the Bahamas alone. Needless to say, this forensic botanist had her work cut out for her. This particular type of thin grass is known to thrive in subtropical climates. When they spoke with the groundsman, he actually told them that this particular grass was very particular to his, I guess you could say, signature or style of grass keeping. Like all of the golf courses that he worked on and that he would keep, he used that particular type of grass. So it was kind of like, I guess, his signature. I'm going to go into the New Mood palette. I think I'm going to do a combination of this palette, and I'm going to do this single shadow. This is a Revolution shadow in the shade Rebound. Everything will be linked in the description below. If you guys were wondering what products I'm using, it's all linked in the description below. It's so stunning, the camera can't pick it up. Now, because they were doing the tests in the United States and they were not using experts from their country, it took quite a bit of time to get everything kind of transferred over before they could even get a warrant to make an arrest. So Keith and Dominic wasn't even arrested until October 24th of 2000. Keith told police that he did indeed break up an argument that she was having with the sailors, that he and Dominic did join her for a drink. They did also give her a ride home. But during the ride home, while Dominic was sitting beside Samantha, he starts to kind of like hit on her. Red flag. And he kept making unwanted advancements towards her, which she wasn't too pleased about. Dominic then told Keith to stop the car along the golf course so that he and Samantha could get out and go for a walk, which I'm like, wait a minute, if the girl wasn't feeling you and she clearly was like not having it, why would you think going on a walk with her would be a good idea? Like, sir, no. What did you think the walk was going to do for you? She wasn't feeling you, sir. Anyway, Dominic told Keith that he wanted to go on a walk with Samantha alone. Samantha, of course, was against this idea, but Keith stopped the car anyway. And once the car had stopped, Samantha got out and she booked it. Like, she hopped out of the car and she ran off. And Dominique took off after her. Keith claimed that he only got out of the car and chased Dominique as an attempt to stop him from doing whatever it was he was intending to do to Samantha. Once Keith was able to catch up with Dominique, he claimed that Dominique pulled a knife on him and told him to back off or he would hurt him. He basically said he would kill him if he tried to get involved. A forensic examination of Keith's clothing from that night showed no blood spatter, no grass, no skin cells, no fibers. It showed nothing that directly connected him to Samantha's death. There was only grass on his shoes, which showed that he didn't take part in the murder. He only attempted to prevent it from happening. However, I still don't understand then why the both men ended up back at the bar to pick up food afterwards. You know what I mean? That's kind of weird. It's like, if he did that to her and then you went back to the bar with him after he just slit a girl's throat, does that make sense? Like, if you were scared of him and terrified, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, because that seems weird. I ain't hanging out with nobody that just committed murder. That's for dang sure. Oh, gorgeous. Keith claimed that he witnessed Dominique rape Samantha before then placing the dollar bill on her body and then slitting her throat. I mean, you sat there and you witnessed all that, but you went back to the restaurant with this man to grab a bite to eat? Y'all, I don't know. When questioned, of course, Dominique denied any involvement in Samantha's murder, rather putting the blame on Keith, saying that Keith was the one who had murdered her and was the killer instead. So they were both blaming each other. Despite the two men's accusations, the scientific evidence spoke volumes about who the actual killer was. In 2014, the two men were put on trial at the Bahamas Supreme Court. One of the witnesses called to testify was Dominique's girlfriend, and she told the court that on the night of the murder, Dominique returned home with his clothing stained in blood, and she actually was the one who washed them. Ladies, look, I know y'all want to stand by y'all man, but like, when y'all man is doing this, you might want to take a couple of steps back and reconsider, okay? Because that could have easily been you, girlfriend. She said that he was so intoxicated that he just blurted out, Lisa, which was his girlfriend's name, she's dead. They killed her. Like, they killed her or you killed her, sir? I think you meant to say we killed her. Dominique's defense in court again was to blame Keith for the murder. He said that there was no way he could have raped Samantha because he couldn't even get it up. Too much information. Yes, sir, we really believe you. And instead, he watched her get back into the car with Keith. Afterwards, he had forgot one of his belongings at the golf course, so he went back to the golf course, and that's when he found Samantha's body, although he didn't report it, and he assumed that Keith was the one who had done it. So, thanks to forensic science and some great detective work, on April 6, 2004, Dominique Moss was convicted of murder and was sentenced to death. And as for Keith Lattimore, the jury really did take into consideration the botanical evidence that was presented to them by the forensic scientists. So he got a much lighter sentence. He got off with manslaughter instead. They did feel like his attempt to stop Dominique was a little bit, let's just say, a little lackluster. He didn't really try that hard. And because of that, they did feel like he played somewhat of a role in Samantha's murder. He also never called the police and did go back to the restaurant to eat with Keith after all of this happened. So let's just say the jury wasn't having it. The court was not pleased with his decisions that night. So yeah, they also sentenced him to some time which I think is fair. I think it's more than fair. Both men did end up appealing their convictions, and the court did end up reducing Keith's sentences from 6 years down to 3. I know some of you are gonna be pissed about that. If you guys are pissed about that, you're gonna be really pissed about what I'm about to tell you next with Dominic's sentencing, how his thing went. Allegedly, the judge at the initial trial failed to direct the jury on the proper intoxication procedures. This was particularly important because under the Bahamian law, according to the available court documents at least, murder is based solely on having the intent to kill. The way that Bahamian law would see it, if someone was heavily intoxicated, they would be too inebriated to make that choice to have an intent to actually kill. So it could be manslaughter, maybe second-degree murder, but definitely not first-degree murder. And the judge failed to bring this up to the jury at the time, and this is the reason why this has become such an issue. So he ended up getting a lighter sentencing because of this one mistake. Dominic's trial was considered to be unfair, and he was granted a new trial with a different judge. So on October 28th of 2004, the Bahamas court overturned his murder conviction. I told you I was gonna be pissed. And instead, they gave him a 25-year prison sentence for manslaughter. I would have been okay with life in prison without the possibility of parole. But 25 years? Manslaughter? This is what happens when the legal system, excuse my language, up. Also, I forgot to say that sentencing was with the possibility of parole. So yeah, while he was in prison, he ended up helping out a lot in the prison because he was an electrician. So the prison saved a lot of money on electrical works needs to be done. So maybe they favored him because of this. I'm gonna just read from now on about what it says. Just a little update. It says Dominic appealed for a second time, this time to the Privy Council. His second appeal was heard on October 22nd of 2013. So this time the error was seen in a lack of separate sentencing hearing. It says the court refused to hear, by the way, I'm reading this from Reddit, so take it with a grain of salt, but it does say that the court refusing to hear mitigation factors or statements from Dominic and Dominic's attorney, feeling the sentencing was excessive compared to Keith's. And on November 13th, 2013, they agreed and declared the practice of not hearing a defendant's statement or having a dedicated sentencing hearing to be unconstitutional and sent the case back to be resentenced. This ruling was described as a landmark ruling, and many others in the Bahamas appealed their sentences while citing this case. Dominic ended up having his sentence reduced from 25 years to 10 years and 1 month. They tacked on an extra month to make us feel a little better about it, I guess. Time served was taken into account starting from his first conviction. Thus, on May 28th, 2014, Dominic Moss walked out of prison a free man. Since his release, Dominic has kept a low profile, with the only news about him being how he was released just before his daughter's own high school graduation and how he's working as an electrician again. I would never let this man work anywhere near any female again, but okay. Now, Keith Lattimore, who was said to be released around 2007, has also kept a very low profile according to this Reddit post. I'm going to leave a link to this Reddit thread in the description below in case you guys are interested and you want to take a look at it. I got a lot of information from this thread, so I also want to give credit to where credit is due. It's called the True Crime Discussion. The username is Moondog151. So like I said, I'll leave a link to all of my sources in the description. Anyway, what did you guys think about this case and my makeup look? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you like videos like these, you can check out some of my other episodes. I'll leave them linked on the screen right here. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Please share because it really helps me out. And I will see you guys next week with another true crime story time. Bye.